There it goes. All right, we are doing a couple of things. So, first things first, very, very important. Today's Tuesday, so hopefully you have already signed up to go to the gym to have your laptop checked. That is mandatory. Looking at this, it's telling me that y'all are still in the waiting room, but I see you already in class. Got a whole list of folks still in my waiting room, but you're here, so I'm going to ignore that. All right, so first things first, we are coming up on the milestone test. It's in 2 weeks, so hopefully you spend a little time over the break looking at some things. But most importantly, you need to get your Chromebook checked. So you need to show up in person, uh, on one of these days to have your Chromebook checked out. You're probably taking more than one um, milestone test, and it is done on your Chromebook, and it has to be functioning correctly. So you need to get that checked before the exam. All right, that's the first thing. All right, next thing. We are going to be reviewing in a way, but we're also going to be looking at new information, and I'm going to kind of go through it kind of quickly, and then I'm going to give you time to work on your all right, so we're going to come back to the milestone practice, but what I want to look at today is ecology. We have not started that unit yet, but it is on the test, and I want to make sure that we cover this information. So I'm going to go through this kind of quickly because we got a lot of things we need to touch on. This is kind of a large unit. We also need to, so between this week and next week, we're going to look at taxonomy and ecology. There's a lot of things that we need to make sure that you have been exposed to so that you will be most successful on this test. Okay? All right. So if everybody goes into Canvas, everybody log into Canvas, and look at the overview for a minute. All right, I got everybody's here. So you look at that. I'm going to do attendance real quick and then I'll pop right back. But everybody should be here. And I do need everybody there because, like I said, we're going to also review for the milestone test because this is information that is on the test. It's just also information we haven't covered as a class. So, um, like I said, I always appreciate you all. Y'all make attendance real easy because everybody comes to class. I think I'm missing one person. Yes, no. Yep, one person. Okay. All right. The other thing is when you're not on your Chromebook and you're on something else, it doesn't show up in GoGuardian. So you need to let me know because I do attendance by looking at GoGuardian. And if you're not there, then I think you're not here. So if you're working on another device other than your Chromebook that is not registered, please let me know. All right, let me quickly do this. All right, so everybody should be in Canvas, everybody. And folks, this is important that you do this because that you stay with me, that you ask questions if you don't understand, because again, the milestone is 20% of your grade. So that means you can say, oh, I'm good right now. I have a 90. But if you don't pass the milestone, 20%, your grade is going to drop down to like an 80. or 75. Okay, so you want to make sure, one, that you get all your classwork up to date and is current. There are no zeros, no missing assignments. And you want to make sure that you study so that you prepared yourself the very best you can to pass this test. If you don't pass this test, you have to take it again because it is a requirement for graduation. If you, what was I going to say? If you don't pass this test and it brings your grade down so that you also don't pass the course, you also have to take the course again. But if you pass the course and you just failed the milestone, then you don't have to take biology again. You just have to take the milestone again. Okay, so
I have a question.
sure.
Well, more like a favor. Is there a way you could like make me or like the class something for like studying purposes? Like it's all like in one thing. Like I don't have to click. Cause when I have a bunch of tabs open, like my computer glitches like a lot. Like you don't have to do like. Is there a way you can just put it all like in one place, like one big old Cammy or something?
Other than giving you that, what the link for the milestone, that's the only other, that's the best study guide. So that's the, I wasn't
Okay.
creating a study guide. So other than going back through your Canvas and looking at things that you've already done in Canvas, the best and the only study guide that you're getting is that actual milestone thing. So we're going to look at that too. So hopefully you all looked at it over the break, but we're going to look at that too. Okay. So for today, we're just going to look at, hold on, let me come out of the attendance, get back over here. Today, we're just going to look at Canvas. We're not going to be all over the place. And when I'm finished looking at Canvas, then I'm going to take you to the link for um, the milestone. Okay. And that's in your module. There's a module for it. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Yeah, I don't want you all over the place, but I will. Let me do something real quick at first. And then I'll say this because you have to understand too, I don't write the test. So the test is made by the state. All we can do is give you topics that are on the test. So we cannot give you exact questions to study. So let me show you what I mean by that. And I'm going to come back
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, and
to ecology in a minute.
not really like the test, but like you like make something that you know like are gonna be like the main topics just to like review.
Okay. All right, let me show you. All right, so let me make this on my main screen. I lost somebody. Somebody just left. I had 11 and now I got 10. All right, so if you're here, and we're going to do this, and we're going to go over here, tests and practice, do online study tools, end of course. All right, so there's two things you can do. You can do the practice test, which is okay, and you would do the standard tools. The thing with the practice test is it is a test, and it's going to, and it's only one test, so it's just going to take you through that particular sample test. The way you, and by the way, if you were at the actual exam, they would be reading all of this to you. I'm skipping through it, but they would take the time to read all of this stuff to you. It is required. And all this stuff that you would have to do. So this is to really get you familiar with what the procedure is that day. But like I said, I am skipping over it because we're interested in just doing the test. All right. So this will take you through the test. It doesn't give you, I think we went through this already. I'm just going to click on something for the time being. This will just take you through questions, and it's not going to give you answers until the very end. Okay, so we're going to come out of that. Yes, we want to exit. And then I want you to come back. So this is what I really want you, because this is what you're asking me, Imani, biology. And again, it's going to go through all of that stuff that we had before. All right, so you want the online study guide? All right, so the difference between that and the first thing is, you see this column over here? This column over here is everything, all the topics, all the headings, all the, we call it, if you were in the classroom, they put the standards, the Georgia standards that are to be covered on this test. So you want to go through this whole column over here and look at all of the standards that are going to be on the test. Now, I'm coming back up here. So we have not done this part right here. So that's the part I want to start with today. We have not talked about ecology and evolution and all of that sort of stuff. So we're going to talk about that today. In the process, I will briefly go over the organization of life, because we're going to go over the organization of the environment as well. So I will start with this today. All right. We did do the cell. We have done all the parts of the cell. So that part you have done. And this is what you need to know about that. This is the other topic, classification. We need to talk about this because you have also not done this. So this is also my next thing to do. After I do ecology, I'm going to talk about classification. But again, the heading is here as to far as what you need to know about that. We have talked about eukaryote and prokaryotic cells. So we'll review that as well. Viruses, DNA, RNA, we've covered that. This is part of what we're going to be talking about today, populations and species and all of that. Okay. Ecology, again, today. And these are terms that you need to know, biome as far as ecology. So this was what I was going to cover today. And adaptive. So this right here, if you read through this and study this and then come back to Canvas, if you need more information, this is what you need to know for the test right here. Okay. All of this. So this is your study guide right here. This is everything. They make the questions, but these are the standards that they make the questions from. So I would read through this and then go and practice the questions. So Imani, this is basically what you're asking for, this right here. That's everything that they make the test from. Now, how they ask the questions and which questions they're going to ask, that's random. But these are the topics that they build the test from. Okay? All right, that being said, let me hop back over here. And why does it always do that? All right, so everybody should be in ecology overview. Now, what I also recommend all the time is that you look at vocabulary. You see all of this? This is a lot of vocabulary. Spend time studying the vocabulary. Okay. Because if you know what the word means, if you run up against a word you've never seen before, then if you know what it means, you can answer the question. You can do a good guess, what they call an educated guess on the test if you know what the word means. Okay. All right. I have to answer a question for somebody, so um, give me 1 second. So take a minute to look that over and then go to this page. This is where I want to start, but I'm going to back this up a little bit. So you look at the vocabulary for a minute, and then I'm going to come here and talk about the organization of life, but I'm going to back it up to cells. Alrighty, let's start right up here. All right, so when we talk about the classification of life, we go back to the cell theory. And again, folks, this is review in as well as adding some new information. So this first part is review. All living things are made of cell. We talked about the cell theory, and the cell theory says that everything is made of cells. Cells organize themselves together so that they function to create a whole organism. So the organization goes, a group of cells make tissues, and then a group of tissues work together to make an organ, and a group of organs work together to make an organ system, and organ systems work together to create a whole organism. Okay, so that's where you start with that. Then, as you notice, this set of organization for ecology starts with the organism. Okay, so we want to include all of that we just talked about, but then we bring for ecology, now we're out in the world, we start with the organism. And an organism is defined as, it can be a unicellular or multicellular. We are multicellular, and they live in this, and there's conditions for this. They live in the same place and can interbreed. That's what makes an organism the same species. Okay, there's all kinds of organisms out there, but they are an individual species is identified by the fact that they live in a particular location and they can interbreed and make more of their own kind. Okay, we're not making weird organisms, we're making more of that same kind of organism. Okay, so that's an individual. So if you look up here at the picture, they use the human as an organism. And then we're going up the list. So we start at the bottom and we're going up the list. So this is small. And if we were doing this as a pyramid, the base, we'd be going small to wide, this one. Okay, so this one is particular species. And then if we have a lot of that particular species, or again, with the same species, so this picture here is showing a group of humans and they're in the same area, okay? Then that's a population. Now, we have different populations all over the place. So like in your house, you are a population. You all are in the same space. You're all human. But in your house, you might have a cat or a dog or a couple of cats. And if there's more than one of them, they are a population, but they just happen to be located in the same spot. So then that brings us to the next word up here, which is community. You have different populations and all living in a similar area. Okay, so like I said, it could be you and your family. It could be you and the three dogs, the three cats, the squirrels that live in your backyard. That's a community. Okay, the different populations, different kinds of species, but all in the same area. All right, so up to here, we're only talking about living things. Okay, and this can be plants as well. So it can be one individual plant, and then it could be a whole garden, rose garden, um, and then a garden of different plants living in the park. Okay. After that point, we start adding in what we call abiotic factors. So these are all biotic factors, and that's a vocabulary word that we're going to throw in somewhere along the way. Okay, it'll show up in a minute. But by two vocabulary words that you have to be familiar with is biotic, that means living things, and abiotic means non-living things. Okay, biotic and non-living things. All right. So we're going to incorporate, when we get to ecosystem, we're going to incorporate non-living things. So they're the living things as well as non-living things such as the wind, the water, the rocks, the soil, the sunlight. All of those are important for life, but they're not living things. We can't function without them, but they are necessary. So they are part of the ecosystem. So living things in an area along with their environment. And again, by environment, we mean the soil, the pond, the air. Air can be affected by air pollution, the mountains, the sun, all of that is non-living or the environment. All right. Then on this planet, we have different kinds of ecosystems. So after the test, you're going to do a project on, you're going to have to pick an ecosystem and do a project on it, different biomes. So they're all over the place on the planet. So all of the different kinds of ecosystems together on the planet make up the biosphere. Okay, so this is basically, if you look at this picture up here, we went from a single individual to a group of individuals to individuals with other living things such as the trees and I don't know what else they got in here. They get look like some worms and things like that nature, but you've got a lot of living things here in the community. And then you take that and you put that up here in an ecosystem, and you've incorporated your sky, the trees, the land, all of that is in your particular area. And then you take the whole planet. So we look at the water, we look at the atmosphere, we look at the ecology of the area, and the lithosphere is the layers of the earth itself. And all of that makes up your biosphere. Okay, so it tends to be a chain of events that get, and if you're looking at it like a pyramid, it gets bigger and bigger as you go up. Okay, smaller and smaller as you come down. One individual, many individuals, lots of different kinds of individuals, individuals in a particular environment, and individuals on the planet. So that's how that one goes. All right. All right, we can also look at the biosphere in types of biomes. Biomes are identified by having similar plants and animals and similar climate. So again, we are going to, when we finish this, we're going to do a biome project. Each of you will be assigned a different biome to work on. All right, two major ones are aquatic. So we are a water-based planet. The first one is called aquatic biomes, but there are different kinds of water. We have fresh water, we have ocean water, we have lakes and streams, we have estuaries. Whoops, where'd it go? Uh-oh. Okay. All right, so we want to click on, whoops, where did my water went? Okay, it just jumped on me. All right, so we have estuaries. They are where fresh water at the mouth of a river that sometimes leads into the ocean. You have a place where you have fresh water and salt water coming together. And that is an estuary. So you got the ocean out here that's all salt water. And then you have lakes and streams that are all non-salt water, which we call fresh water. And then you have these areas where they kind of mix together. And each of these areas have a unique population of plants and animals, okay? Because they have developed certain conditions under which they can live. So the saltwater animals, and plants, they can live with high salt concentrations. The ones that are in fresh water can't live in salt water at all. Their cells are not adapted to deal with high concentrations of salt. And then the ones in the estuary, they kind of fall in between. Okay, so you have also swamp areas and wetlands where you have fresh water and large woody plants living. So that's a little different too. All right, so we've got the marine, which is salt, and that's your oceans, your coral reefs, your estuaries. And then you have the fresh water, which is less than 1% of the planet. Okay, so there's more salt water on the planet than there is fresh water, which is why when we say that we have to conserve water and be careful about our water, is the only thing that's available to us that we can use is fresh water, and most of the planet is not fresh water. All right, and again, I'm kind of going quick, but trying to show you things that you need to focus on. Different types of biomes. So when you click on each of those circles, it'll give you a um, description of that biome. So coniferous forest. All biomes again are described by temperature, rainforest, and location on the planet. Okay. So the first thing they're going to tell you is their average temperature, how much rain they get. And because of that, they will only certain plants and animals will be adapted to living in those areas. And then they tell you where on the planet you will find this kind of biome. So these are all northern type situations, not the very tippy top, but northern parts of the planet. Let me see what this is called a climatograph. So it tells you what the climate looks like for the whole year. So this is average temperature and during which months of the year. It's same thing with the precipitation. They do the same thing for the whole year. A lot of times they do both graphs in the same place, so they kind of overlap and they let you know one side they're giving you numbers, or they might do it in two different colors, but you'll see a climatograph have both temperature and precipitation on it as well. Okay, so kind of look at that. So, but this is the overview. All right, let's look at this one is the desert. Again, temperature, precipitation, location on the planet. So again, if you look at, they highlight it for you where you're going to find it. They tell you what the average temperature is for the year. And being able to read one of these graphs is important because they might ask you, what is the average precipitation in January and know your months. So you got a lot of J's here in January, and you'd be able to say that there's the average temperature is between about 15 degrees. Okay. If they ask you how much rain in January, you look for January average rainfall and millimeters is about 50 millimeters of rain in January. Okay. In the desert, notice in the summertime, there you get very little, almost no rainfall at all. So this is the way you would read one of these graphs. You would look and say, how much rain am I getting during these years? What is the average temperature? So the temperature is high in the summertime. And then keep in mind too that this is Celsius. All right. I'm going to so grasslands, come on. All right, I can't go fast because it won't go fast for me. It's stuck. I was trying to get to where we live. There we go, shrublands. And we don't live in the rainforest, okay? We live here, temperate deciduous forest. This is our part of the world, okay? So this is our average temperature, our average precipitation, although these days the temperature is going wonky up and down, but average is what they look at. So this is what, so we, in the wintertime, we have low temperatures. In the summertime, we have kind of high temperatures, and then coming back down over here, our precipitation. This looks like this year it goes up and down, depends. So in the summertime, you have very little precipitation is what they're saying is, and on these ends is also little precipitation. And you also have to remember that snow and hail, that's precipitation too. Tundra is the frozen areas, the very tops, the North Pole, South Pole, those type of areas. So if you look at those temperatures too, they can be high in the summertime, but below minus temperatures in the winter seasons. Precipitation is next to nothing in a tundra area. So that's how you'd look at that. All right, this is a map, color-coded map. So this you'll be given this map when we do our project, so that you know can locate where the different biomes are on the planet. All right, and again, these are the two words I was telling you that you need to know, that abiotic factors are non-living physical conditions such as soil, water, air, oxygen, temperature, sunlight. Biotic factors, all the living things. So if it's living, if it's an organism, and you got to remember too, plants are organisms. Microorganisms, bacteria, all of those things are living things. Okay, algae, all of that is living. If you click on this picture, and they could do that for you. They could give you a picture like this and ask you, what is the water in the picture represent? What does the monkey represent? That's orangutan. And they give you the answers to this here in the box. All right. And this is just matching so that vocabulary. So again, please practice your vocabulary. But these are the main ideas for that you need to know the organization. Again, this is an organization for ecology, but also know how it connects to the organization of life, which starts with the cells and it leads up to organism and then organisms all the way to biosphere. Again, know those two terms, biotic and abiotic, and then be familiar with the fact that a biome is defined by the type of plants and animals and climate in that given area. So again, when you do your project, you're going to have to give me that information for your particular biome. All right, I'm going to stop there. Any questions about that? Because I'm going to go over here and talk about niche. All right, I'm going to let you look at this for a minute. I have to, again, there's a family member in the hospital and I have to return this phone call right now because they're trying to move them. So please look at this one. And I'm going to go through the difference between a habitat and a niche. Okay, so read through that, and then we're going to go through all of these cycles. But we're going to go through that quickly because we're going to go through cycles quickly because that's not the bulk of the test. I'm trying to get to the other organization. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Y'all don't get sick. Stay as healthy as you can. Hospitals are crazy places, but necessary places. So you got to do what they say. All right, a niche. So think about and then they need to, down here you have the word habitat versus niche. So on the planet, you have a place where you live. All organisms live somewhere. But where they live, they do things. So your niche is what you do where you do it. Okay? It's your job in the area where you live. So there is a difference between the word habitat and niche. Okay? So again, habitat is where you live, and your niche is what you do in your habitat. So for example, you live in your house, but you may have chores, things that you do in your house. Okay, I got you, Evan. Anybody else have to go get their computer checked? Because you were, and don't forget, everybody has to do this. So if you need to um, go do that, because I know between 11 and 4 today is one of the times. Um, okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to just let you all practice because some of you all have to go. So go back to those of you who are still here. Go back to finish reading this, and I'll pick up on this when we get together on Wednesday. But go back to the biology practice, and so go through all of these things. Know before you go. Know those kinds of things. Know before you go. All right, so everybody else, work on the practice if you're not going. And if you haven't already signed up to go get your laptop checked, please do that. That's important, important, important. All right, so finish reading this. Um, ask questions if you need to. Do the, come back all the way back, back. Do the, oh, it's so much easier to do it this way. All right, work on your milestone. Also, the other thing that you can work on is if when you did your benchmark test, you have a printout, a breakdown of all your questions and all the kinds of questions you got wrong. That was also practice. So look at all the things you got wrong on that, and it will take you to some practice things that you can work on in progress learning. Okay? All right, so please work on that. And again, read through. This is the study guide over here. These are on the other side is sample tests. The neat thing with the sample test is they give you the answers, and so they'll give you the answer. They explain why certain answers are wrong. They give you the why each one. They tell you which one is right, and they tell you why the wrong ones are wrong. So go through and look at those as well. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing and let you do what you need to do. Those who need to go, be safe. Have a good day. I also have tutorial on Tuesdays and Fridays for any questions that you might want to pop in and ask. If you're running into a topic that you feel needs further explanation for you. Um, And okay, folks, if you have not, because you have to make an appointment to go down there. If you haven't made that appointment already, please make an appointment. So you can still make one for today, and then you need to make one for, or you can make one for Friday. But please make sure that you have done. Let me ask you, have you ever? I got two people who are on their way already. Three people. Has everybody else got an appointment to go? Nod your head up and down. Yes, yes. Anaya, you got one? No, make Andre, you got one. Y'all need to make one because you have to do this. Okay. Your mom is okay. Sander, you got an appointment? Raymond, you got an appointment? No. Make sure mom makes an appointment because you got to take it. Jamarion, you got one? Okay. Good, good, good. Make sure mom knows that you got to make an appointment to go do this. It's got to be done this week, today or Friday.